things first. On a Monday morning, Clippers are headed to round 2. Nick, should the Claw and company be the favorites to win the West now? Blockbuster NFL trade to talk about Julio Jones headed to Tennessee. Are the Titans now legit Super Bowl contenders? And without James Harden, Brooklyn still got it done against the Bucks. Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Fabulous show today. We got so much to get to.
Fabulous.
Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall. Yo, we got so much. Oh, so many sports we're going to cover. Kevin Wildes as well. Brandon, do your Nets even need James Harden at this point?
Oh, I want to know this.
Jenna, you listen, we do need James. We need to get him back. If not, we'll still win it. It's okay. We'll still win it if he doesn't come back.
Well, then you don't need it.
Confidence
Hold
like
up.
this.
Hold on. If not, we'll still win it. So you don't need him. All right, got it.
We will hold on. We will hold on. We'll get to Brooklyn in a second. We got to start some Mavs Clippers. Game 7, Kawhi versus Luka. Superstar versus superstar. Both showed up last night. Kawhi just 1 assist shy of a triple-double. That was great. We got a vintage Claw performance down the stretch. He did it to win Friday night's Game 6. They had to win. He did it last night to help win Game 7. As for Luka, another monster game, 46 points. You cannot say that Luka didn't do his part in this series. But the Clippers win Game 6 and 7. They advance. Here is Paul George after the win.
They pushed us. They definitely got us war ready. It's a great team we played. Unbelievable superstar and Luka. They pushed us. They played really well. They challenged us. But we stuck in there. We hung in there. We played for one another.
What do you think you've been able to prove in this series and even last year in the playoffs?
I mean, nothing yet. We've been in the playoffs twice since I'm there. We lost both times, so nothing yet. You get paid to win. So we didn't do it.
I love that Luka's man first is a backpack. Nick, what was the main reason you think the Clippers won Game 7?
Well, the reason they won Game 7 and the reason they won Game 6 and the reason they won this series, it's 2 guys. It's Kawhi and it's Ty. We'll start with Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard, after a brutal Game 5, when he had been excellent in Games 1 through 4, responded in Game 6 with the finest game of basketball he has played, maybe of his career, certainly since the epic 7-game series against Philly in the second round in 2019 that ended with another Game 7 performance by him that was brilliant, and when he hit the game winner. Kawhi in Game 6 did everything those of us who have been criticizing him have asked him to do. He shut Luka down on one end, he carried his team on the other end. And then yesterday afternoon in Game 7, while he couldn't shut Luka down, he did slow him down in the second half, and he was excellent all around throughout the game. And Jenna, you said 1 assist shy of a triple-double. That is Kawhi Leonard going outside of his comfort zone. The one part of his game that's a weakness is distributing the basketball, and it wasn't last night. So that's the Kawhi part of it. But the other biggest reason the Clippers won this game, these last 2 games in this series, is Ty Lue did some things that most coaches wouldn't do, that Doc Rivers certainly didn't do last year, which is look at the series, recognize what wasn't working, and not be afraid to make massive changes. Pat Beverly and Ivica Zubac are starters for the Clippers. They became DNP coaches' decisions for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson, who I've been very critical of, was brutal in the first game. Ty Lue continued to show faith in him, and that faith was rewarded. Luke Kennard, who was DNP coach's decision early. Ty went to him in Game 6. He was bad. Ty showed faith and went back to him in Game 7, and he hit 2 shots that essentially ended the basketball game. So Kawhi Leonard, after a brutal Game 5, played almost perfect basketball, Brandon, in Game 6 and 7. And Ty Lue made all the requisite adjustments that his team needed to advance to the next round.
Do you believe now, Nicholas? Do you believe now? What an amazing weekend for me. Weekend of boxing, weekend of great basketball, the Clippers, the Nets. You sat there and you crushed this team. No, I gave you a pass last week. I gave you a pass Friday. I told you this was going to happen. I told you they'll win 6 because your son, Luka, wasn't going to be ready to go. He was going to be still tired, but he still had a good game. And then I told you the elimination game that they were going to do it. I told you this. Ty Lue is now 9-2 when facing elimination. Everything Nick said is true. There's not much more for me to add on this. He's 9-2 facing elimination. He continues to make the right decisions in the big moments. We saw him do it in Cleveland. Talking to the greatest player of all time, LeBron James, sit down, cursing him out, said, "I know you think this is your team, but this is my team." So playing big, giving Man and Kennard big minutes down the stretch. You talked about Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, wow, he hit the most important shot of the entire game. And Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, just phenomenal. Everybody, people forget who Kawhi Leonard is. Kawhi Leonard has one bad game, and then all of a sudden, remember he said he was the king of L.A. Remember he said this. What is he going to do this offseason? Kawhi Leonard averaged over 32 points this series, averaged over 61% shooting this series. Phenomenal job by those guys when they were facing everything, when everything was on the line. Wilds, you got to give these guys their flowers. No more of this, their mindset is weak. They don't have it. They don't got it. They have everything they need, and it's a weak West. So it's their conference to lose.
Wow. Okay. Here's the other reason they won the game. The Clippers have 2 superstars, and the Mavericks are supposed to have 2, but they only have 1. So Mark Cuban has got a big problem on his hand, and luckily, he is a master salesperson, so I'm going to go into Shark Tank mode here, Nicholas, and try to make you a deal to make the the Mavericks a little better. So here's the thing. Can we hit my beach music? My name's Mark Cuban. I'm looking for over $100 million for 100% of the stake and about 10,000 Kristaps Porzingis jerseys. And I know you're saying, sure is hot out here. I can't take my shirt off and go into any stores. Can I interest you in some jerseys? We've got blue ones. We've got white ones. They say Dallas on the front. They say Porzingis on the back. And before you answer, you're saying, is this the same Porzingis who went 13-5 for this series? I would say yes. Is this the same Porzingis who has a history of injuries? I would say yes. Is this the same Porzingis who dislikes, and that's being kind, our superstar Luka Doncic? The answer is yes. But Nicholas, I'm here to make a deal.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rebuild the Mavericks. Are you in on this deal for about 10 to 15,000 Kristaps Porzingis jerseys? Only $100 million. You can pay it over the course of 3 years.
What am I, and I have to come up with a counter? Like Kristaps for CJ? Maybe. Like, here's the deal.
Sure.
The Mavs are in a rough spot in that they thought they were getting Luka's co-star, and he's not that. I don't know what happened to him in this series, Brandon. It wasn't just great Clipper defense. Kristaps just floated. It seemed like he wasn't even like in it. And during the regular season, by the way, he was 20-9 on 38% from 3. Now, he missed 30 games because that's what he does, but he was good when he played. If you're the Mavs, you need to find a desperate team. And so, you look at the trades that could work. Portland, I think, is desperate. But even if they know Dame and CJ aren't going to be a good enough pairing, CJ's better than Kristaps. You call Chicago, Kristaps and Zach LaVine. LaVine is better than Kristaps. It is really hard to find the trade that the other team wants to do because this guy has not gotten better. And in the biggest spot of his career, or in this playoff series here, he's been a relative no-show. And so I don't know what you do, Brandon. And I think Wild's point that he doesn't seem to like Luka is a problem. I think in the NFL, you can get away with guys not really liking each other because it's such a big locker room. There's 5 guys on the court. Luka always has the
Can't
ball,
happen.
and Kristaps seems angry all the time. And so I don't know what the Mavs do. They traded a lot for him, and I think they might be stuck.
Well, they got to figure it out because what we witnessed this series is Luka really stepping into a top 5 talent in the NBA. It's hard for me to say he's number 1 right now. LeBron James, I'm still going to respect LeBron James. This was a funky year for the Lakers, a funky year for him. I still love Joel Embiid, most dominant player. But when you break this down, man, Luka was sensational. So you got to figure it out. If you're the Maverick, you're Mark Cuban, you go out there and you figure out what you can do to build around this guy because this dude, man, is up next. He's now, actually, and you can't waste his talent, Jenna.
All right, so the Clippers win. They now move on to face the Jazz. That series tips off Tuesday in Utah. More on that in a second. We got to talk, though, about Brandon's other team, this one out east, the Brooklyn Nets. KD and Kyrie getting it done.
I got one team,
without
just one.
number 3, James
The
Harden.
other one's a prediction.
I don't know. Do the Nets even need the beard in this series at this point? Didn't look like it. We discuss next. First things first.
Make it easy.
Hey, drawing the blank. Brandon, you were at Hard Rock Stadium last night for the boxing matches. Your guy Ochocinco went the distance with Brian Maxwell. And Logan Paul did the same with Floyd Mayweather. So, Brandon, the fight night in Miami was blank.
Oh, my goodness. Just straight insanity. I mean, before the show was a spectacle. Nobody knew what they were going to get. So the pre-fight festivities were awesome. Then you had Ocho set it off, and Ocho came out. He looked good. Ocho really looked good. But he has to learn to keep his hand up. He threw that left hook, and he was right there. He won rounds 1, 2, and 3, and he got too confident, too comfortable, and he took one on the chin. And like Channing Crowder always said on the show, you just can't get hit and then have your booty in the air right there. Get your booty out the air, Ocho. Get up off that canvas. Let's go. It was straight insanity. And then Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul, they capped it off. And it was a great night of boxing. I think Floyd was a little upset because he didn't really knock him out. I think Floyd was going for the knockout, and it was more competitive than he liked. So straight insanity.
Oh, Brandon, I'm going to send you a clip. I know you were there and doing commentary. Floyd actually did knock him out and then held him up to keep the fight going because Floyd is a showman. But I'm going to talk about the first fight because the first fight was rope-a-dope. And by rope-a-dope, I mean this. I think Brandon and Ocho maybe have a little side deal. And the deal is like this. Chad, you do whatever you want the first few rounds. But at some point in the fight, I need you to get knocked down. I'm Brandon here. And the reason I need you to get knocked down is because I want the boxing world to think, us NFL guys, we're easy pickings in the ring. Because that will set up the fight that I am now the promoter for, the Beast against Wilder. Deontay Wilder, Brandon Marshall, coming to Hard Rock Stadium or the MGM Grand or somewhere near you. Because Ocho right there, come on, that's bad. I think Ocho's a better athlete than that. All the McDonald's in the world doesn't make Ocho drop his hands that fast. So I think Brandon's in on this. It's a rope-a-dope Wilds to try to get the Wilder fight going, which I now have done a total 180 on. I'm absolutely in favor of.
Okay, I have also done a 180 on it. I do not want Brandon to fight Wilder. If you want to fight, if you really want Brandon, this is how much I don't want you to fight Wilder. If you want a Brandon Marshall Wilds fight, I'm willing to take the fight. Because I do not want to see you get into the ring with Wilder. If I need to go, and I will accept the fight now that I know the rule. If you get knocked out, just don't put your booty in the air. That I think that's a famous
get your booty out the air.
But yeah, get your booty out of the air. Yes, that's the key to all the sweet science. My answer, however, is replicable about Floyd. I don't think Floyd is going to stop doing this. There's still an appetite to see him in the ring. I don't know how long he's going to keep going, but if he continues to post pictures with literal bags full of money afterwards, I see no reason for this trend of kind of exhibitions with no winners or losers to ever stop, Jenna.
So why wouldn't you want me to start then?
Exhibition.
Why wouldn't you want me to start this?
We want you to come back.
Because I don't want you to
unless you're willing to share. Unless he's going to share. And then it's okay. Game one, Bucks Nets. Brooklyn lost James Harden in the first minute of this one. It's been announced he'll miss game 2 tonight with right hamstring tightness. Probably more. KD and Kyrie carried the Nets more games, not more injuries. KD and Kyrie carried the Nets to victory despite Harden going down early. Brandon, game 1 should have Nets fans feeling blank.
Confident. I mean, he went down early. James went down early, and they were able to not only take off, but they sustained. The score at the end of the night was closer than what the game really was. And all year I heard about, this team hasn't played together. They only played 8 games going into the playoffs. But look at the ball movement. Look how in sync they were. And then defensively, all year, Nick, defense, please. We just saw the number 1 defense get bounced in the first round. That's the Lakers. And you saw them finally step up and hold them to a season low pretty much. Not really want to say a season low, but the Bucks averaged 120 points a game, and we held them to 107 points. So please don't talk to me about defense. And then, you're undersized. Well, the rebound battle was respectable, and our coaches did a phenomenal job. So the Brooklyn Nets and the fans, everybody should feel confident. But at the end of the day, you want James Harden out there because that path to the finals and hoisting up that trophy is so much easier when you have the MVP just sitting there. So, Nick, I got to go with confident. I know you was at the game. Hopefully you left. So I don't know if it was a date night, but why were you even in the building? Like, you're not a Nets fan.
I was in the building. It's playoff basketball, and I was excited to see it. And there were literally, dozens of Nets fans around me. And they were feeling anxious the exact way Brandon is feeling anxious. Because Brandon, I'm not trying to pull the Broussard, but that bass in his voice left a bit, if you noticed. And the reason is, Brandon said what he has heard all season. I'm going to tell you what I've heard all season. This Nets team was a mediocre team. They were an average team until they added James Harden. And that's why James Harden is the MVP. James Harden, they were here, and now they're here. Before James Harden, they were 12-11. After James Harden, they were 28-7. I'm going to tell you another thing I heard. Not during the regular season, but in the playoffs, because you mentioned the Lakers getting bounced. I seem to remember someone making the now we know very astute point that a playoff series is one thing when a team's fully healthy. But when a team loses its second best player mid-series, it could flip entirely. So while, yes, the Nets should be very happy they're up 1-0, I think in your heart of hearts, you would rather be down 0-1 with a healthy Harden. Because I don't think he's coming back this series. I think Harden's done for the series.
Listen.
And so yeah.
I may take that. You're right, Nick. I may take that. A healthy Harden and going down 0-1. I mean, he's one of the greatest players to ever walk this planet. So I may take that. But if you watch that game, you're looking at it like, well, we really don't need him. I mean, they dominated him from start to finish on both ends of the court. But Nick, I did not say that. I did not say, our team was okay until we got James Harden. Before James Harden got there, I picked them to win it all. So let's go back and let's run a take back in November and December, early December.
So it's great. My bad. I was wrong.
Nick knows what I was wrong. Wow.
Okay, that's perfect. So to be clear, even if Harden doesn't play again, the Nets winning it all. Got it. I wasn't sure, but now we know Wilds. It's locked in.
Yes.
Brandon hasn't missed an NBA pick yet, so he's locked in.
You still got the Clippers, right?
I said
Clippers are still locked in, right?
Missed one yet. Correct, that's what I said.
Okay.
We got it, Brandon. We're going to, you know what, Brandon?
Okay.
We're going to have to add staff to the show, or you need some of your House of Athlete, someone on the staff to come over to make all of these like little tapes that Brandon wants. Like, run it back, run a whole montage of my right picks. Starts the show. What an amazing week for me. So I've got my answer is mathematical. Mathematical. This is not going to happen again, Brandon. I'm sorry. When you start to see mathematical aberrations, it bodes poorly for Brooklyn. The Bucks shot 6 for 30 from 3, and Blake Griffin got into the DeLorean and went back 7 years ago. He had 18 points, 14 rebounds, and 1 step over of Thanasis that we'll talk about later. So I don't think those things will happen again. Without Harden, I think the momentum is all Bucks.
I'll be there again tonight,
Why
Brandon.
wouldn't you guys trust me?
Take the old private jet.
Why wouldn't
Come
you guys
join me.
trust me?
We trust you now. We trust you. We just don't have an archivist to go through all the footage of you being right. Time for the weird and wonderful.
Exactly.
For our national pastime Twins Royals. How about Minnesota with the triple play? Pretty wonderful. But Kevin Wildes, what else you got for us from the world of baseball?
Oh, let's check in on the Chicago Dogs. They are not named after dogs like canines. They are named after actual hot dogs. Here's Butch Hobson, former Red Sox great and Red Sox manager, goes full Earl Weaver here and covers the home plate with dirt. You know what? Savvy response. There's only a certain ceiling to how angry you can get when you're wearing a hat with a hot dog on it. So that's a good move. You got to lean towards the silly. So strong move from Butch Hobson. That's the wonderful from the national pastime, Jenna.
Dude used to manage the Red Sox, and now he manages the Chicago Dogs. That's a real thing?
Well,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
A bad beat.
But they're not animal dogs. They're hot dogs.
Sorry, Jenna.
We got to talk about this blockbuster trade out of the NFL this weekend, guys. Fox Bet Sportsbook moved Tennessee's Super Bowl odds from plus 3,300 to plus 2,800 after they traded for Julio. Nick will tell you those chances just got better. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders? That's next. First things first. Back here, first things first. Hey, Julio Jones got his wish. He is out of Atlanta, going to Tennessee. The Titans trading for the All-Pro receiver at an All-Pro discount. They only had to give up a second and a fourth rounder to get him. I love deals. How about that Titans offense now? Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and now Julio. A.J. Brown posting this on IG over the weekend. Please excuse my language when I say this. Y'all done bleeped up. So, Brandon, are the Titans legit Super Bowl contenders after acquiring Julio?
They were the last 2 years. So now you throw Julio in the mix. Absolutely. Let's start on the defensive side. Last year, they finished ranked 24th on the defensive side. They weren't good. The year before, they were 12th. And they were really good, and they could have been better. So I believe that Vrabel will get that defense back where they need to be. I mean, really, that's their sweet spot. That's his sweet spot as a coach. I mean, he's great at leadership. He does some good things, but this is a defensive guy. On the offensive side, I always say this. This is the formula. This is the recipe. When I was playing ball, I always wanted a top dog running the ball and toting that thing down after down after down. I always wanted a dog on the other side of me. Why? Because it's unstoppable. Now you got A.J. Brown on one side. You got Julio Jones on the other, Derrick Henry in the back. Now, all they need to know is he is the man, and he is the key to everything. Because if he continues to run the way he's been running the last couple years, now you're talking about 8-man box. The last thing you want to do in the National Football League is be beaten on the ground. You have to win the trenches first. So if he is averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, you got to put that extra safety in the box. You got to be able to stop him. But now you got one-on-one outside. Who do you double? And when you have A.J. Brown, when you have Julio Jones, you have to slide that safety some side of the field. You have to tilt it. You can't do that. So all Tannehill have to do is drop back. Where's the safety? Oh, you want to double Julio this play? A.J. Brown, let's go to work. We got our 18-yard comebacks. We got our 18-yard stops. We got our 9-yard stop route, slant, out route, whatever you want, go ball, back shoulder. And then it's Julio. It's simple. This is what we did in New York when I had Eric Decker. This is what we did in Chicago when I had Alshon Jeffrey. And all of our quarterbacks, Pro Bowl years, all of our offense, top 5. This is scary for the NFL. Julio Jones, I don't know where he's at. You know, he's usually a quiet person in the offseason, so I don't know where he's at health-wise and what he has left in the tank. But if he's anything close to the Julio Jones we've been seeing the last 10 years, it's going to be scary, Nick.
So I think there is a little question over what Julio Jones, the Titans are getting, because that's why he only went for a second-round pick. The question is he the guy last year that only played half the season, or the guy he'd been every other year of his career, where he's one of the 2 or 3 best receivers in football? And last week when we talked about Julio, I said I thought the Titans would end up getting him, and I think this is a good deal for them. They have the best running back in football. I think A.J. Brown is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. And if Julio's healthy, they will have the best wide receiver duo in football, arguably. With that said, Brandon, I think we might be overrating the move a bit. So just follow me here. Prior to this move, I think most people would say the 4 best teams in the AFC, we don't have to argue about the order, but at least Vegas would say this, and I think you would too.
Right.
Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cleveland. Those 4. Let's now include Tennessee in that. It's 5 teams. Of those 5 teams, last year, the worst defense of the 5, Tennessee. The worst quarterback of the 5, I would argue Tennessee. Mahomes, better than Tannehill.
You love
Lamar,
Baker.
better
You love
than Tannehill.
Baker.
Okay, all right, but even if that's fine. But Brandon, even if you think he's better than, even if you think Baker, the Tannehill's better than Baker, he's only 4th. Even you would only have him 4th. You wouldn't have him better than Josh Allen, Lamar, or Mahomes. No question about it. And I also like Vrabel, but I also think coach of the 5, the worst one is Vrabel. Still might be a very good coach.
Really?
It's not
No
Andy Reid, not John Harbaugh. Well, so Stefanski did a brilliant job. You love McDermott, Harbaugh, and Andy Reid. Those are some of the best coaches in football.
Right.
So the point I'm making is I do like the weapons they have. But if you look at them measured up against the other contenders, and Tennessee has the worst or the second worst defense, the worst or the second worst quarterback, and the worst or the second worst coach, even if the coach and quarterback are good compared to the whole league average, it's tough to be a Super Bowl contender if you're the 5th best team in the conference. I think they're the 5th best team in the conference.
Defensively, you don't need a top 5 defense when you have that type of firepower on offense. So I get what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But defensively, they will be better. What they showed last night, that secondary, that was a high school secondary they rolled out on that field every single Sunday. They have to be better. Vrabel is working day in and day out to fix that situation over there. Offensively, you talk about Tannehill. Tannehill, I'm telling you, Nick, he's going to have a big year. He's not going to go out there and throw for 5,000 yards. Not what he's going to do. They're going to lean on that run game. Their offensive line is still a top offensive line. And then you have
maybe the best.
Your guys outside. This is simple football. This is play action. 8-man box. Okay, what are we going to do? Let's go one-on-one outside. It's easy. He's going to go to the line of scrimmage Wilds with 2 plays. If it's 8 men in the box, all right, we're going to throw it outside. Single man, single high beaters. We're going to have comebacks. We're going to have 8-yard, 9-yard stops. That's what we're going to do. Back shoulders and goes. If it's 7-man box, if it's favorable, hand it off to our big dog in the back. That's how simple this offense is going to be. He just has to read the box. That's it. That's easy football. This is high school football for Tannehill.
Okay, I think the Titans are going to be pretty good. And I'm about to do right now a little home run derby. Like, comes early. Old Kevin Wildes is on the mound, and Nick Wright is at bat. Here we go. Here comes the windup. Hey, Nicholas, I saw this tweet this weekend. Yeah. I wanted to serve it up to you. Take a look. I see a lot of people are taking shots at Ryan Tannehill right now after the Julio trade. Tannehill equals Mahomes, numbers-wise at least. Yeah, actually better. One of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. Meanwhile, Mahomes gets everyone's attention, including yours. Nick, I think Dove Kleiman here makes a good point. What do you think? Watch out, everybody.
I think
Run Derby.
I think Twitter found the next person that they should ban. I think this isn't quite calling for an insurrection, but it's right beneath it as far as just rip his account away.
Right.
Like, can you put that tweet up again? Is that a real thing? Is that a real thing? A guy with the old check mark and NFL in his handle put out there? How good is Tannehill?
You're a numbers guy.
I see the numbers. Quarterback rating higher, more touchdowns, higher completion percentage. That, my friends, Wildes, do you know what that is? That is the scourge that has infected my beloved NBA, starting delicately trying to get into my beloved NFL, which is, hey guys, why even watch the games? Let's just look at the numbers. And the numbers tell us Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes, basically the same guy. I got another number for you, Dove. What type of name is Dove, by the way? I got another number for you, buddy. 534. 534. That is the total number of passing yards Ryan Tannehill has in 4 career playoff games. So 534 divided by 4, Jenna, what is that? 133 and a half. So he gives you a nice, cool, crisp 133 yards per game in the playoffs. Give me a break.
Listen,
yeah, but now we got Julio.
Yeah.
Now, listen. By the way, I don't think Tannehill's bad.
It's not going to be a big difference.
I don't think Tannehill's bad. I think Tannehill was held down by Adam Gase. I'm not trying to take shots at Ryan Tannehill, but the numbers are a little inflated in the regular season because of Brandon's point that every defense prior has only been worried about stopping Derrick Henry. Now they've got, listen, I think they'll have a dynamic offense. I just think the AFC might be a little too top-heavy for him, Jenna. But that tweet should be burnt into the sun.
In my defense, you do the math before you come on the air and then randomly ask. So I just, carried the one. Nick's going to hand out some NBA playoff medals from the weekend.
What are you talking
Without
about?
audience participation this time. Kevin Durant, 29 points, 10 rebounds in the Game 1 win Saturday over Milwaukee. Didn't get a medal, though. Nick, who did make your playoff podium?
KD was excellent, not good enough for a medal. Tough with games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will start, though, with Sunday. Trae Young, 35 and 10. The Hawks were up by 26 points at one point in this game before an absolutely wild final 3 minutes. Trae Young continues to light the Eastern Conference on fire. Silver medal comes in a loss, but my large adult Slovenian son. 46, 7, and 14. Brandon called it. He was going to be exhausted for Game 7. Only hangs 46, 7, and 14. But it's not enough because his teammates let him down. By the way, Luka Doncic now tied for 20th all-time in career 40-point playoff games. Guys played 12 career playoff games. And then the gold medal, Kawhi Leonard from Friday night. One of, if not the finest all-around game of Kawhi's career. 45 points on 18 of 25 shooting. That's 72%. Jenna, that math was on the fly. And he was brilliant on the defensive end. There's your medals from the weekend. Kawhi could have possibly gotten a bronze for what he did yesterday, but we gave it to Trae instead. There's your medals from the NBA weekend. Great performances all around.
Can we go back to Luka? It looks good, the stat sheet. 46 points. But 30 of those points came in the first half, Nick. He got tired in the second half. Can you please take your
Brandon,
large
that means he
adult
had 16
son
in the
and y'all
second
work
half.
on your win? That's not good enough
Brandon,
in an elimination game. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
you need to work on his conditioning this offseason.
58%.
Yeah. Okay. 72%. 72%. Hey, Wild, who just missed the cut?
NBA champion Danny Green showing what it takes to win a championship. Playoff intensity of just watching Trae Young roll the ball to midcourt. Joel Embiid's losing his mind. Here's the thing. Shot clock doesn't start. And outside of 2 minutes, you can just stay here for the whole time. You can grab some popcorn, T.O. style.
He did
Joel
this to the
Embiid's
Knicks
losing
all
his mind.
series.
So Matt,
stop him from doing this, you dope. He's done it for 3 weeks. This possession took 36 seconds. No, I just want him to make him touch the ball. Have you guys not know how the clock works? No, but you can't let him do that.
He was scared.
He's going to run the whole game away. It's so infuriating.
I'm with you, Danny Green.
The Sixers, they can get back on track. Game 2 in that series tomorrow night. Let's see if Trae listens to Nick. Back talking Kawhi and the Clippers. How did they come back from down 0-2 and down 3-2 to send Luka home early? We'll break it down next. First things first. 72%.
Just run it back. Run my clip.
Back here with the always effervescent Steven Jackson, who keeps great company in commercial breaks. Love having you. Talking Bucks Nets Game 1. And this series started on a bit of a sour note for Brooklyn. Less than a minute in, James Harden exiting with right hamstring tightness. He's already been ruled out for Game 2 tonight. Maybe longer, we'll see. So it was up to KD and Kyrie, and up to the task were them. They, those two stars, were, as Yoda would say in the sentence. Durant finished with 29, Kyrie with 25, as they carried Brooklyn to a Game 1 win. Here was Steve Nash after the win.
Most importantly is he's out for the next game. So we're preparing for tomorrow night as we ended up playing last night, and that's our focus. For James, we obviously are desperate for him to return, and he's a huge piece of what we do on our team. But at this point, I think it would be all guesswork to really understand. He's had such a little, up and down recent history with it that it's really hard to predict. And so let's hope for the best. But we can't really say anything too predictive or too definitive right now.
Steven, you watched this game. Did you feel like was game one proof that the Nets don't even really need Harden if they want to go ahead and beat Milwaukee?
Well, yeah, because they definitely need him. One game is just one game. Obviously, the dynamic of having him at the beginning of the game caused a lot of problems for Milwaukee because they didn't know what to expect. So it kind of threw them off at the beginning. And having James out there, they're definitely a better team. But going forward, they definitely going to need him. We've seen how Giannis and Milwaukee played against Brooklyn the first two games. The last two games of the regular season, they dominated. And they can get back to that. They got a great coach, a championship coach in Bud. I was with him in San Antonio. He's going to make some adjustments. It's not going to be a cakewalk for them. They're going to need James. And I think for the biggest thing about it is the Nets have to come out and find a way to not only get the points, but get the playmaking that they're going to miss with James. It's not really about the points. You still have two of the greatest players in the game. Blake Griffin really won that last game for him with his energy and the way he played. So somebody else going to have to step up. And like I say all the time, if one of your stars go down, somebody has to step up. 03, Malik Rose stepped up when David Robinson went down. So if you want to win, it's time for your other players to step up. Everybody has the opportunity.
And for the Nets, the concern to me is pretty clear that James Harden's not just going to miss game two. If he was ruled out for game two Sunday morning after a hamstring that's been hampering him all year, and unfortunately, the only real injury he's ever had of his career. It's not a guy who's been injury riddled. It's the opposite. He's been an Iron Man. He's always out there. And now this hamstring's giving him trouble. And we also know the Nets were one team pre-Harden, one team with Harden, and another team once he went down. And so why were they able to win game one despite Harden going out? Because the Milwaukee Bucks literally had their worst three-point shooting performance in 3 years. I don't think that's going to happen again. You can be like, oh, they played great defense. Kind of. A lot of those were wide open threes, and Milwaukee went 6 of 30. They truly have not, in the regular season at least, hit fewer than 6 3-pointers in a game since 2017-18. So I don't think that's going to happen again. I also think Durant's line is interesting, Brandon, because it speaks to how great he is, that he was able to almost get 30, but it wasn't easy.
Right.
And it wasn't easy because P.J. Tucker has as much experience guarding Kevin Durant in the playoffs as any player in the league. Did it look to you like Durant, those were easy buckets, or he had to work for those buckets? Because they will make him work. And if Harden's not out there...
Yeah, it's the NBA. They're professionals, of course, but they won. And it's getting to a point where I'm just redundant. I told you what was going to happen in the playoffs, Nick. Yeah, of course, P.J. Tucker does a great job when he's out there. But we're talking about Kevin Durant. Right? This is the number 2 basketball player in the world right now behind LeBron James. So I don't care who you put out there. You can bring back the glove. You want to bring Dennis Rodman in. Who else you want to throw out there? Stack, you can come back. Put you out there in your prime, Stack. I love you. You my big brother. But I'm telling you, you ain't stopping Kevin Durant.
Ain't nobody stopping KD.
All right, here's the...
PJ Tucker ain't
Yeah, right. No, nobody's stopping him. Here's the deal. I've been saying the same thing all year, and I had to listen to this stuff. Well, the big three, they haven't played together. They only played 8 games. Well, did you see the ball movement when they played? Then defensively, their defense is trash. Well, look what they did. The Bucks all year were averaging 120 points. Their defense looked phenomenal. The way they were communicating, the game plan, sensational. And then rebounding. They're undersized. Well, the rebound battle was respectable. Here's the thing with James Harden. Let me answer the question. Do you need James Harden? You absolutely need James Harden because that's why you brought him in. It makes the path to the finals just a little bit easier. But these two still together, they're still going to get the job done. And then Mike James. I hit my boy up, Justin Zermello, April 21st. And I said, man, tell me about this guy. I think they signed him on a 10-day. And I said, tell me about this guy. He said, Brandon. And this was April 21st, 6:15. Reasons for the Brooklyn Nets to win. Offensively, the signing for Mike James from Moscow is huge. The top scoring point guard internationally and former NBA player will fill a huge void. Listen, this is a Fred Van Fleet type dude. So you saw him. Yes, James Harden was there, but he kept that offense clicking. He kept everybody in sync, and he got everybody where it needed to be. So until James Harden comes back, Mike James is going to be the guy that keeps this team together. So Nick, you gotta stop this madness with the Brooklyn Nets. You were at the game. You saw it up close and personal.
Brandon, what was your pick in this series? It was Nets in 6, right? Nets in 6 was your pick in this series, correct?
That's right.
I don't want to misquote you.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
We are now, so a series that you didn't think the Nets were going to sweep. You didn't think Nets in 5. You thought it would be a good series. We now, by your own admission,
that's right,
are replacing the guy who you thought should have been MVP of the league before he got hurt with a dude who they signed off a 10-day from Moscow. And you're like, what have I been telling you? Same thing. Well, there's a difference, buddy. And I mean, the idea that there is not going to be a reevaluation after you go from Harden to Mike James from Moscow, and you're right. I did say the Bucks would kill them on the glass. And the offensive rebounds were 15-6. And I did say the Nets wouldn't be able to stop Giannis. And Giannis, what'd he go for? 34 and 13? And I did say the Nets defense stinks. And if you think holding the Bucks to 107 on their worst shooting night they will have all series is good, I disagree with you. I don't think the Nets played great defense. I don't. I think they got very fortunate on missed open threes, and that won't happen again tonight. That's what I think.
Well, I'll continue to be this broken record and just be redundant. I've been saying the same thing since December. So, look, Wilds, Nick knows what I said. I picked the Nets to win it before they signed James Harden. So I still believe I'm still going to be confident the same way I was confident with the Clippers when they were down 0-2 and when they were facing elimination down 3-2. So, Wilds, you know what time it is. This team will stand up and get the job done.
Okay, I've got 2 guarantees and 1 question for Stack. Here's the first guarantee. The Bucks will not shoot 20% from 3. They are going to shoot much better. Guarantee number 2. Blake Griffin will not look like it's 2015. He's out there dominating. Went 18 and 14. That's not going to happen. So those are the 2 guarantees. Here's the question that I have no idea how this is going to play out. Late in the game, Stack, Blake Griffin stepped over Thanasis. It was just the ultimate disrespect. NBA has a long history of when you step over a guy, whether it's Ty Lue, whether it's Draymond LeBron, you know you're doing it. You're doing it to send a message. So the odd, interesting part about this is not like a figurative, hey, that's my brother on my team. We're all like the brotherhood. That's Giannis's literal brother. It's his literal little brother. Does Giannis have to have a response to Blake? Does it throw Giannis off? Does Giannis play with more passion? I don't know how this is going to play out, Stack, so that's my question to you. How does Giannis respond from Blake stepping over his little brother?
Excuse my hotel phone. That's my breakfast. They're not going to do nothing.
Answer it, bro.
I love television. Stack, that's fantastic. I love it so much. You're the best. So great.
To answer your question, Wild, they ain't going to do nothing about it. Giannis can't afford to get kicked out, so why even get up off the bench and do all that?
No.
Your brother's not going to play that much, so let it go. Blake, good job, Blake. Somebody has to be that guy on your team.
Wow.
This is the playoffs. This is about winning. Who cares about disrespecting the next team? Long as it's on the court. One thing about it, the referees, one referee got it in between. Blake and Teague had words, and they was right next to each other. If they wanted to throw a punch, Wilds, they could have. Nobody's fighting these days. Nobody's fighting in the game.
But it's just like
people talk about me.
I was surprised
I've never been
that
in a fight in the NBA game. I've never been in a fight with an NBA player. Guys, it's a lot of respect when we talk trash,
that might be
but
technically true.
It's a lot of respect there too. No, I went. My friend got a beer thrown at me.
Can we get a fact check?
My friend got a beer thrown at me.
I know. Okay.
We don't have any more staff members, Brandon.
I've never been in a fight in an NBA
They're all
game
working
in
on
my
your
whole career.
archives.
Never been in a fight in an NBA game my whole career. This is a fact. These are facts.
All right.
Now,
Stacks, go
outside
get
of
your
the strip
breakfast.
club that
I don't want to
one
keep
time.
you from eating. We got to take a turn. Talk about this big NFL trade from over the weekend. Julio Jones is officially a Titan. Is Tennessee now a bona fide Super Bowl contender? We're having breakfast on a Monday morning. That's next. First things first. Stack. Welcome back. Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks. Built to serve. We're talking Bucks Nets. Series started on a sour note for Brooklyn. Less than 1 minute in, James Harden had to leave the game with right hamstring tightness. He did not return. He's already out for tonight's game 2. That was announced. So it was up to KD and Kyrie, and up to the task. Those two stars were. Durant finished with 29. Kyrie gave you 25. And they carried Brooklyn to a Game 1 win over Milwaukee. So, Brandon, was Game 1 proof the Nets don't even really need Harden to beat the Bucks in this series?
Yeah, absolutely. They won the game. But we're talking about James Harden. I mean, James Harden been captivating us, the last, 5 years? I mean, just watching him play is just phenomenal, So missing a guy like that is definitely going to hurt. But at the end of the day, do they need him? Probably not. I mean, you still have Kyrie Irving, you have Kevin Durant, and then you got to fill in. And not a lot of people talked about him. I actually missed the opportunity to talk about him back in April, late April, when they signed Mike James. This is a guy that on the international scene is one of the best point guards to ever do it, especially the last couple years. So they'll be fine. Defensively, we're seeing what they're doing there. The coaches are doing a great job making the right moves. So look, Brooklyn, the Nets are right where they need to be. All this talk about the Nets, I mean, it's done, Nick. I mean, get over it. You were there. You were live. You were in the building. You saw this team. Yeah. So there should be no more doubt left in your mind when you look at how they handled them in the first game. We're talking about Giannis and the Bucks. Now, Giannis, I mean, it looked like he could get anything he wanted when he wanted it. But at the end of the day, man, they're not strong enough. They don't have the team to beat Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I think that Chris Middleton's not going to go 6 for 23 again, and I think the Bucks aren't going to have literally their worst three-point shooting performance in 3 years again. And I think that Wilds, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but tell me if I'm going to do an impression real quick. Tell me if you know who I am, okay? This is me. Just imagine I'm going to do this for 2.5 hours. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
That's
good impression, but I don't know.
That's Steve Nash after Harden went down. He's like, ooh, I'm not talking to anybody, and I think my plan is, hey, Kyrie, play the entire game, and KD, play almost the entire game. And let's just hope it works out, and Blake Griffin has the best game he's had in a couple years. And it all worked out. That ain't going to float tonight. And playing Kyrie 45 minutes in a game where you sat him for the final 90 seconds, it was a blowout, given Kyrie's injury history and everything about it, that's one of the reasons he went 2 of 10 in the second half. There were a lot of things in that game 1 that, if I'm a Nets fan, I would be feeling better about down 0-1 with a healthy Harden and with a more of a common sense rotation than what I saw up 1-0 with Harden already ruled out for today, which tells me he might not be back for the series, and with Milwaukee having its worst three-point shooting performance in 3 years. So yeah, I think the Nets were going to lose to the Bucks even if Harden were healthy. But Harden not being there, to me, makes the Bucks sizable favorites, Wild.
Yeah,
wow.
Brandon, don't you think Bucks fans should be far more optimistic going into this game than Nets fans? They're not going to shoot 20%. Harden is not there. Blake Griffin is not going to play like it's, 2008. So I feel like the Bucks are just going to come out and be like, oh, you know what? This is our series. They've lost a third of their team, and what you were used to refer to as like the engine that made it go. The idea that you're out here pontificating someone else's take that my team does not need superstar that is kind of injured.
No.
It sort of backfired on our friend. It was Nick. But I would bail out on that we don't even need Harden to win this series.
Listen, before they even got James Harden, I picked the Nets, to come out the East. So I'm still going to double down on that. And I just, right. So I just want to make this clear. I heard you say that ain't going to fly, meaning tonight when we see them take the court, you're taking the Bucks. You're saying the Bucks are going to win. So I got that noted.
Yes.
All right, Nick, I have that noted right here. All right, got it.
Good to know. But just so you...
Bro, you got to understand. Hold on, real quick. Just real quick, man, you got to understand, you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. This is their finals. Yes. Everybody else, it's a cakewalk. This is their finals.
Okay, well, Philly's a pretty good team. But just for the record, they gave players up to get James Harden. So, like, it's not the same Nets team at the beginning of the year without Harden. They gave guys up. Those guys are gone. Now Harden's gone. We'll see what tonight looks like. I'll be there.